Let me tell you something. New York is the greatest city in the world. My city. I was a kid in these streets, and I made it to the top. I made my bones doing a piece of work for Don Carlo Gambino. Like that, I became a made man.
Dad, I'm thinking maybe take a year off.
You want to hang out with me?
Do you know what you're doing to this family?
I will build something that nobody can destroy.
Salute.
Paul Castellano was a fish in the desert. I never respected Paul.
You killed the boss's boss. You will bring down hellfire.
There is no choice.
Oh, you look like $1 million. How the hell are you? One and all, welcome. I'm Nick Muniz. This is Nick's Nonfiction. Today on the program, we have got Jerry Capecci's John Gotti. Yeah. Breaking news. New Jersey Mafia boils man to death in industrial pasta cooker. Police are still trying to identify the victim. He was the most famous and infamous mobster since Al Capone. The handsome, expensively groomed Godfather Gotti beat rap after rap to become a folk hero to the masses and a nightmare to the forces of law and order. He was a vicious killer, a ruthless manipulator, a Machiavellian master, a double-cross, and an ardent womanizer. Oh! I've boided plenty of holes myself. Most countries have a mafia. In Soviet Russia, mafia has country. By using FBI tapes and a host of sources on both sides of the law, organized crime reporters Jerry Capecci and Gene Mustaine tell the whole truth, uncensored, of John Gotti. Do I smell a rat? Jerry Capecci, I got my eyes on you. One slip of the tongue, you're in the Hudson. What do you get when you cross a mob consigliere with a performance artist? Someone who makes you an offer you can't understand. We will be right back.
He was the best guy around.
What about the people he murdered?
What murder?
If you think your boss is stupid, remember, you wouldn't have a job if he was any smarter. There's no such thing as good money or bad money. There's just money.
About the author, Jerry Capecci. Capecci, capiche? Jerry Cocksucker is considered one of the famous, foremost authorities on the mafia and organized crime. He covered the crime beat for the New York Daily News, the New York Post. He covered the Gambino funeral. This guy snuck into the Gambino funeral on the day of my father's death. Jerry is co-author of Murder Machine, the terrifying saga of Roy DeMeo's bloodthirsty mafia crew. Of course, Gotti, Rise and Fall, and the Brooklyn Boys of Manhattan. Brooklyn nowadays, that's one big mook fest. I was a bartender in Manhattan a short while. You know how to make a smoky Manhattan? You fly a plane into the Trade Center.
Bro, you gotta give me money today.
Today?
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Let me
talk to you. Where are you? Can I see you?
The unlucky recipient of this call owes a gambling debt of $112,000.
I'm not waiting after today. After today, my partner said he's gonna come and he's gonna break every limb in your body. I want $112,000 today.
Come on.
Okay?
You serious, bro?
We're gonna come and get you in your fucking house. I don't give a fuck. I want 112 G's today, or bro, where we catch you, we're gonna leave you.
John Gotti. Chapter 1, Respect. People loved me. I could have been fucking president. You think I'm kidding? What's Bill Clinton got, a 43% approval rating? Stop any two people on the fucking street and one of them would like me. That's 7 points ahead of Clinton right there. What did he ever do that I didn't? He smoked pot, he dodged the draft, he poked girls he wasn't married to. He went to Cambridge, where's that, Massachusetts someplace? I went to Greenhaven. It takes cajones to go there. That's balls to you. I didn't even dodge the draft neither. I had this run-in with a cement mixer when I was a kid. Fucked up my foot. I couldn't pass the physical. I'm not dodging no draft. If my juvenile sheet didn't already knock me out, I tried some pot here and there, but what's the big deal? Just give me a martini and I'm happy as a cocombero. You got it? Dry as the desert. People loved me all right. Let me spit. I got letters, thousands of them, from all over the fucking world. They loved me. England. Some Cockney connections over there. I'm not making this shit up. These letters are real. My lawyers, they got all the copies. Let's see. Let me get my reading glasses. It's from the Canadian Red Cross Society. I know that ain't England. And Canada don't count in no election. The mob? It's bigger than politics. What's the difference between the mob and the government? The mob gives you protection for the money it takes. Back in '87, when I beat this case a little prosecutor tried to fuck me up with, it was a real frame job. A guy comes running down the street. This is when the fucking Mets were laying low. There was some Sally team. This guy says Queen has won 2 world champions. The Mets got it, GYATTi. Yeah! I was on the cover of Time, People, New York. I didn't know how many fucking others. I lost track. They wrote songs about me and played them in the Howard Stern. Public television, they were showing me everywhere. It was right about the time Eleanor Roosevelt or Winston Churchill... Excuse me. I came out of the Bronx. Didn't have 2 cents to rub together. When Vicky and I had our first kid, I had to beat the hospital out of the bill. I couldn't pay for my kids. God, I love my kids. One's gone, but I still count them. He couldn't afford his kids. Oh, my God. Neil should have been a boss after Carlo, not Paulo. He was a kazoo. Goddamn prick. Don't ask me who killed Paul. For all I know, the cops killed Paul. I don't want to get to know that now. He doesn't want to get into it. He's a humble boss. We're wrapping up chapter 1 here. Guys ask me, how come you never built a mansion? Well, 2 reasons. 1, I couldn't show it, because on paper, I was only making 80 balloons a year. 2, I didn't need it. What do I need a mansion for? I used to throw dollars around. I put a lot of bookmakers through college, but Frankie knew the point I was making. All I wanted was what I became. And that's what I got. Respect. Chapter 2. Peter and Paul. Paul, Gotti's main competition coming up. One of the moiders of Paul Castellano was destined to become a household name, John Gotti. In 1985, however, he was just a local underworld phenomena, a champion of Cosa Nostra's oldest tradition who looked thoroughly modern. He was a man of many such contradictions and had bullied and manipulated his way into a prominent but precarious position, acting as capo of a decina in Queens. This put him in hot water with Paul. So it's the come-up, Paul versus Gotti, who's going to lead the Cosa Nostra. Gotti portrayed himself as a true believer of Cosa Nostra values, yet many of his most loyal followers dealt heroin, a drug that undermined New York City families themselves. He was clever but crude, vain but insecure. He enjoyed glittery nightclubs, but went home to suburban houses in Queens to his homespun wife. The old house Cosa Nostra, they give John the green light, even though he's stooping to new lows. It's a different game at this time. If the Italians don't push the H, the goddamn Hispanics will. The heroin's getting the way, it's going on the streets.
Another one.
Whether you like it or not. East New York was a wild cattle town in the old days. Streets teemed with betting parlors, bars, storefronts selling hijacked goods, with the acquiescence of cops mafiosos operated in plain view. Cops used to turn a blind eye. Now they got their damn security cameras. Keeping up with the times here. Sammy begun running. This is Sammy the Bull. His whole backstory. He ran a gang of dropouts known as the Rampers. They bullied kids in soda shops, elevated their gang on the West End subway tracks near Bennenhurst, Coney Island. He also began working at his father's garment factory. Though he already felt Cosa Nostra vibrations on the street, he got his first-hand look here. His father was working with goons. They were gooning off in the garment factory. Let's keep the story going. No more gooning off. From 1977 to 1983, as Sammy rose in the Paul wing of the family, Gotti rose in the Neil wing. Because of this flamboyant and closer to Neil, Sammy was to Paul's rise louder and faster. He lacked Sammy's expertise in construction and unions. However, he never personally ran companies. He got by on bread and butter rackets. Sammy's working in his dad's fucking garment factory and his construction gamuts. Gotti had nothing. Bread and butter rackets, some bookmaking, some loan sharking, scrambling to pay the debts. This guy couldn't afford his kid. Yeah. He loved the streets. Later on, after Gotti's supposed employment became a public issue, city officials quizzed Gotti's friend about the purported job. The friend Anthony Garino said Gotti drove around the city looking for construction projects that a company might bid on. He's saying at this time, a lot of people were signing on to deals with the state, but Gotti only ever dealt in cold hard cash. Here's John's choice of words. Accordingly, late in 1981, a 13-member squad of agents in New York known as the Gambino Squad launched an electronic assault on Angelo Ruggiero. Yo, they got mafia cybercrime. The Meatball family plants some CP, a pizza party, on the Giorno family's computers. 2024 mafia rackets. They're selling goddamn hair dye in New Jersey, fucking slick back. The mob is descending. John Gotti was not making goddamn Instagram reels. You hear me? Sammy the Bull putting in work, ending chapter 2. The steroids added more bulk to his already 5'5" figure. Let's go! A New Jersey meatball. Bull became an even more apt nickname, but the patient had wild mood swings. Mellow one moment, hot-tempered the next. And while in a hot temper, he put 2 more notches under his murder belt. Victims number 7 and 8 were eliminated so fast, they never got to tell anyone what gangland rules they had broken. Chapter 3. Showdown. Sammy'll break your neck before you know what rule you broke. The showdown. Early in 1985, Gotti was caught on another hidden listening device, this one a body wire worn by an informer trying to work his way out of a heroin case unrelated to Angelo. The informer went to the Bergen with a bookmaker reporting to Gotti that some strangers had opened a completing operation in Gotti's territory in a cozy corner bar. The bookmaker had warned the men to shut down, but they refused because they had a sponsor just as important as Gotti. Forget about that, Gotti said. I got 4,000 guys. I'll send them in every neighborhood. They caught him on a hot wire saying that he's going to start a gang war. You don't give me the cozy corner bar, and I'll send every goddamn guinea I got on the streets at you. W, New Jersey. By agreeing to test the waters himself, Sammy signed his belief that Paul was simply too unloved to win a showdown. If Paul wanted to kill Angelo, he would have had to kill Gotti, and if he did that, the Bergen crew would have mounted a devastating war of revenge, and many of the soldiers Sammy knew were eager to fight and die for Paul. I'm sorry, they wouldn't die for Paul, but they would die for GYATTi. So now Casa Nostra, the old money, they know who to put their support behind. These goddamn meatballs and wife beaters are about to die for John Gotti. But this Paul character? Nah. Sammy and Eddie began preparing their defense by reporting the money to the IRS and paying the taxes. But the late payment looked as fishy as it was, and they were indicted and arrested. You can't pay it late. Sammy, who had not been arrested since the Shorty Sapero era, was released on bail insecure from Staten Island home. This was with Fiala money. So he's getting the old head support. They're bailing him out of every jail. The assassins gathered in a park by the East River. So this is Paul versus Gotti. He's got to wipe this other guy off the map. The assassins gathered in the East Park as the purple gloom of a wintry twilight fell across the city. It was December 16th, 1985. 4 of the 10 men that were designated shooters wore identical trench coats and Cossack fur hats. The outfits were meant to confuse potential witnesses and cause recollection. It was the Russians. The other 6 men backed up shooters, getaway drivers. They were dressed for anonymity. John Gotti had given everyone their assignments the night before, in a meeting at the storefront in Bentonhurst. This was used for a construction business. But now as they huddled in the park with the barren trees and the East River's treacherous currents passing, Gotti, with Sammy at his side, went over the details one final time. Paul's crew is about to pull up. Sparks, 5 p.m., read an entry in Paul's diary, which also contained reminders about meeting with his defense lawyer, DeMeo. This week, Sparks had rated the city's top steakhouse in New York Magazine. So they go to the steakhouse Sparks, which is where Gotti's crew is waiting for him. The plan was to shoot Paul and Gotti as they pulled up beside the Sparks, the steakhouse. Just 2 in 1. Let's go, Gotti said. They ran through the park. Don't fucking forget, whoever's with Paul has to go too. If fucking something goes wrong and we miss him going in, we go into the restaurant and take the motherfuckers there. About to draw blood in the steakhouse. The killing began as soon as Gotti drove across the 3rd Avenue and stopped in front of Sparks. He and Paul never had a chance. The 2 shooters assigned to Paul fired 6 bullets into his head, and he stepped out of the car onto the curbside. 6 holes in his head like goddamn Swiss cheese. Helicopter. He should have went Trump on it, dodged all the bullets, take one to the ear. Obama. With Gotti at the wheel, they departed the park in a black Lincoln with tinted windows. The shooters and backups left in getaway cars. The new Don drives away with his cavalry. Gotti will emerge as the head of the other capos. Chapter 4, Aftermath. Whacked him off at a steakhouse. I'm trying to get whacked off at a steakhouse. Aftermath. The media billed Gotti's 4th trial in 6 years as a gangster case of the century. The buildup, however breathless, was difficult to dispute. No one like Sammy had ever taken the witness stand against Al Capone or any other mafioso. While any gangster, no one ever turned on their own guy. Sammy was willing to rat on Gotti. I'm telling you, we're in the era of rats. The trial dominated most front pages and newscasters in the New York for nearly 3 months. Several reporters doubled as commentators for radio and television. Rome, Naples, London, Hong Kong, Sydney, Auckland. They were all talking about the dapper Teflon Don. I looked this up. YouTube, they claim the most viewed live stream ever was the Depp Heard trial. That's what they're saying. It had the most numbers. I'm just saying the theater of justice is getting bigger. Everybody knows the Manson family, that's one of the first ones. The LA riots, people were tuned in. George Floyd couldn't get enough. Apparently Depp Heard drew the most viewers on a live stream. Whatever gangster is getting put on trial next, maybe it's P. Diddy. Yeah, it's the P. Diddy trial. The theater of justice is getting ramped up. The trial began on January 21st, 1992. Most reporters were drawn to what Gotti and Louis Kosman wanted, a demonstration outside the courthouse. This guy is a street mobster. He gets his justice on the streets. Once you step foot in their Saturnalian-ass courtrooms. Continuing. This should have been live streamed on every television in the tri-state area. Outside, the crowd marched toward the courthouse and began chanting, "Free John Gotti!" Several hotheads in the crowd, egged on by members of Junior Gotti's crew, shouted into bullhorns, began rocking a police car, and before long, 3 cars laid on their roofs, and the riot was on.
This is a certified hood classic.
George Floyd riots? You think the white people don't get up and riot? I also looked up the biggest human gatherings. It's always funerals, too. So when some white mob dude dies or some shit, white people are gonna pop off again. It's about respect. The NYPD rushed over another 100 cops to beat back the demonstrators. Several cops were injured and given first aid in the lobby. Near the FBI stood. John would have never believed this was a spontaneous demonstration. They're trying to say John planned a riot. This is the issue. People respect another figure more than the cops. You're not allowed to do that. You're going to try to be bigger than the government? They're literally called the governor. Before the sun rose again, he was in solitary confinement, where he would remain 23 hours a day, every day, until at some future point in time a prison was decided he could go play by the regular rules. They put him in solitary, bro. He's too dangerous. If he was in Gen Pop, the prisoners would have hailed him. Nobody would have respected the guards. Yeah! Judge Glazer famously said to the cops, "My reaction is that the world is a better place with another John Gotti." Slap the cuffs on him, do all the symbolic justice that you want, appease the statist. At the end of the day, the world is a better place with more John Gottis.
Helicopter, helicopter.
There you guys have it. I'm Nick Muniz. We do this every single week. Seriously, thank you to the listener for showing up, learning. We're putting higher vibrations out onto the airwaves than all the other shows. For real. Why are Mafia members always so good at sex? They always got a stiff in the trunk.